So let's talk about the future. Not some far-off, distant sci-fi future, but the world that's coming for our kids and grandkids. We're going to use the latest climate data to piece together a kind of survival guide for the next 100 years. Let's dive in. And this isn't a prediction. This actually happened. Think about it. A city literally built in the middle of a desert, completely paralyzed by a flood. It's a perfect snapshot of what happens when our climate system gets pushed to the brink. And believe me, it is not an isolated incident. At the same time we're seeing these insane downpours, you get stuff like this, a blizzard in a warm savanna. Lions, creatures of the sun, having to navigate this totally alien frozen landscape. These are the symptoms of a planet that's starting to run a fever, and its systems are just going haywire.
Look, these aren't freak accidents anymore. They're becoming the new baseline. We've all felt it, right? The summers get hotter, the storms get wilder. So the real question isn't if things are changing, it's how much our world is about to be completely reshaped. And it all really starts with one little number.
1.5 degrees Celsius. For years, this was the magic number, wasn't it? The absolute line in the sand that scientists screamed at us not to cross. Well, we crossed it. And you know, it might not sound like a lot, but on a planetary scale, it's an earthquake. Thinking of this as just a slightly warmer day really misses the bigger picture. A much better way to think about it is like a planetary fever. That 1.5 degrees represents a truly colossal amount of trapped energy. And that energy has to go somewhere. It's what supercharges our weather and makes everything more extreme. And you can see that extra energy in action right here. The scale we use for hurricanes, right? The Saffir-Simpson scale, it tops out at Category 5. But now we're seeing storms like Hurricane Patricia, with wind gusts hitting 400 kilometers an hour. That's just off the charts. We're literally running out of categories to describe the monsters this planetary fever is creating. So how is this all going to affect our day-to-day lives? Yeah, this isn't just about abstract numbers and charts. These changes are going to hit the most basic parts of our lives. We're talking 4 key areas: our water, the way we travel, the food we eat, and our health. And let's start with water, because this is where things get really paradoxical. We're going to be fighting 2 completely opposite crises at the same time. On the one hand, you'll have coastal cities like Miami in a constant battle against flooding from rising seas. And on the other hand, you'll have billions of people facing widespread droughts, making clean, drinkable water an incredibly rare resource. To the people who come after us, the way we live now is going to seem completely insane. I mean, just listen to this quote. The idea of using perfectly good, clean drinking water just to flush our toilets will seem as wasteful and absurd as, well, as wiping with silk. It really makes you think, doesn't it? All right, next up, travel. Remember those pictures of the golden age of flying? That's long gone. Today, flying is pretty much a utility, like taking a bus. But in the future, it might become a rare luxury. With its massive carbon footprint, just hopping on a plane for vacation could become totally unacceptable, saved only for real emergencies. But there's another reason flying is going to change. The sky itself is becoming a more violent, more chaotic place. All that trapped energy we talked about, it's churning up the atmosphere, leading to way more of what's called clear air turbulence. You know, the kind that hits you out of absolutely nowhere. The days of just strolling down the aisle might be over. It'll be keep your seatbelt fastened at all times. These changes are also going to show up right on your plate. Let's just take breakfast. Avocados, incredibly thirsty plants, often grown where there's no water to spare. Cornflakes, well, corn, wheat, and rice are all super sensitive to heat. And beef, it takes an absolutely staggering amount of resources to produce. These staples could very well become the new caviar. So, if that's what's disappearing, what's going to replace it? Well, the answer might be crawling and hopping. Insects. They are incredibly efficient, okay? They use a tiny fraction of the land and water, and they are packed with protein. I know it sounds weird now, but don't be surprised if cricket flour burgers become a totally normal thing. Now, let's switch gears to health, because this is where it gets really serious. As the world's ancient ice melts, it's basically defrosting things that have been on ice for thousands of years. Scientists actually dug up this 30,000-year-old virus from the permafrost and were able to bring it back to life in the lab. Now, luckily, this one only infects amoebas, but it proves the concept is real. Ancient zombie pathogens that our immune systems have never seen could wake up. And it's not just the ancient diseases, it's the ones we already have that are on the move. A warmer planet is a much friendlier place for things that carry diseases. Mosquitoes carrying Zika and dengue, they're not just in the tropics anymore. They're showing up in southern Europe. Ticks with Lyme disease, they're surviving the milder winters and pushing north year after year. When you see all these challenges piling up, it's natural to hope for some big, high-tech, silver bullet solution. And that brings us to the wild world of geoengineering, basically hitting the emergency brake on a planetary scale. But is it our last best hope, or is it an even bigger gamble? Okay, so one of the main ideas is to basically create a man-made volcanic eruption. When Mount Pinatubo blew its top back in '91, it shot so much gunk into the atmosphere that it actually cooled the entire planet for years. The idea here is to do that on purpose, to fly a fleet of jets way up high and spray a fine mist that creates a kind of planetary sunshade to reflect sunlight back into space. But here is the terrifying part. Sure, it might cool things down, but the side effects, they could be catastrophic. We could accidentally shred the ozone layer. We could mess with rainfall patterns and cause massive global famines. And get this, if we ever started and then had to stop, all of that pent-up warming would hit the planet in just a few years. It's called termination shock, and no ecosystem could survive it. It's also so important to remember that climate change isn't happening in a vacuum. It's just one of 9 critical planetary boundaries. You can think of them as the guardrails for Earth's life support system. And as you can see, we've already blown past several of them. We're using too much fresh water, cutting down too many forests, and filling the world with plastic. We are stressing the entire system. And this forces you to look at the whole problem in a completely different way. The Earth has been through it all. Ice ages, asteroid impacts. It survived atmospheres that were toxic. The planet itself is not fragile. It will endure, it will adapt, and it will find a new balance, with or without us. And that right there, that is the final, most important question. This whole thing isn't really about saving the planet. The planet's going to be fine. The real fight is about saving the stable, predictable, and frankly, comfortable world that allowed human civilization to thrive in the first place. So the question isn't whether the Earth will survive. The question is, will we?